I was wondering before I talk about the museum if you would kind of give some of my viewers an overview of your own career and how it's intersected with civil rights and just kind of your own personal history through that.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I grew up in Grenada on a farm. I went to Ole Miss, graduated from law school, came to the legislature, served 3 terms in the legislature, served in various state offices, served as lieutenant governor, and then I served as governor from 1980 to 84. Much of this time, of course, we were involved in all sorts of changes in the state relating to race, elimination of Jim Crow, the integration of schools, passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This, of course, changed the landscape for all of us living in this state. We unfortunately went through some very difficult times in the 50s and 60s when the forces of massive resistance, resisting any sort of change in the racial status quo, made it difficult to have these changes come about in an orderly way. I was an advocate for moderation in that process. I felt that it should have been accomplished, and I felt that it should have been done gradually. I was not a part of the massive resistance scheme. I was never a member of the White Citizens Council, and I felt that we Mississippians, black and white, had to learn to live together, respect each other, and understand our common humanity and our common history. This is what led me during the course of my political career to try to influence a change for the better, a change where everyone, regardless of color, regardless of economic or social status, would find equality under the law, and that we would respect each other. This didn't mean that we had to agree with each other on everything, but we had to respect each other. I think we've come a long way in achieving that result, and now we have an opportunity to celebrate it. I think Mississippi probably has come further than any other state in the nation in terms of improvement in race relations. But we still have a long way to go, and we still have a lot to learn. I think we can make the present and the future better if we understand where we've come from, if we understand the sacrifices that have been made by people on both sides of the racial issue to create a state now that is looking forward rather than looking backward, building on our history, building on our heritage, building on the cultural opportunities that we have.
Okay. And tell us about the Center for Racial Reconciliation and its purpose.
The Center for Racial Reconciliation at the University of Mississippi was created as a result of a meeting that we had there back in 1998 when the advisory board, the Presidential Advisory Board on Race, of which I was a member, met there and held a forum that was, I think, one of the most eventful meetings that we've ever had. Had almost 1,000 people there one night, about half white, half black, to discuss in a very civil yet candid way the processes by which we enhance our racial relations. It was a discussion on racial reconciliation, and it was so successful that those who were there, many who were there, including Chancellor Robert Cayette, thought that ought to be not just a one night affair, but it ought to be a continuing process. So out of that came the organization of the Winter Institute for Racial Reconciliation, based on the campus, and which now is doing good work in many communities around the state, bringing the races together, pointing out how much we have in common, how much better we're going to be if we learn to live more closely together, appreciate each other's culture, learn from each other, and build a united society. That's how this country was first established. That's what it was established for, was to bring people together of every race and ethnic group and the result is that we have the greatest country in the world. And I think it will be an even greater country as we celebrate our diversity.